not exactly sure. Yeah, I'm still figuring it out right now.
I'm not 100% sure yet because it's really broad.
I have no idea.
I wouldn't say worried. I know I'll figure it out, but it's a little bit stressful because time goes a lot quicker than I thought. Yeah.
Well, sometimes it does, but I think in my mind I have a really clear vision on what I want to do. So, yeah, not really.
No. I'll just see how my life goes. I'm not worried with, what kind of work am I gonna do later? No, that will come when it's the right time. So no, I'm not worried.
As you just saw, many of us students don't know what they want to do in the future.
While some just go with the flow, others might find it worrying.
But how can you find your place in this fast-moving industry?
We decided to address this topic in our video. We wish you a pleasant screening.
Hi everybody, my name is Alan. I'm 28 years old. I've worked in the music industry for over a decade, and I've lived in the Netherlands now for 5 years, and I have experience working in the music industry in many different ways, from throwing events, playing events myself, marketing for artists, and just whatever the industry brings. I work primarily with hardstyle music, and I have experience doing all kinds of stuff, from throwing events to playing events, managing artists, and working on marketing as well.
Okay, hi, I'm Verena. I'm 27 and I am marketing manager at the record label Scantrack. It's a hardstyle record label.
So my name is Andres Garcia. I am originally from Mexico, and I just moved to Amsterdam 6 months ago. I studied at Tulane University in New Orleans, the US. And yeah, I graduated last year and just moved here.
I guess what got me into the music industry was, funnily enough, the music of Scooter, just kind of a lame answer. But yeah, in some way I probably wanted to be that guy a little bit, H.B. Baxter. It's a bit of a funny answer, but yeah, I mean that whole project was so energetic for me as a kid and really motivated me to go change my direction to something music oriented, especially towards dance music, eventually leading towards the harder styles.
Wow, that's a good question. I think I had all sorts of dreams or like jobs that I wanted to pursue. My mom is a teacher, for example, so like when I was really little I wanted to be a teacher, but then my mom told me how exhausting it is to be a teacher, so I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do that. And then for a long time I wanted to become a flight attendant because I always loved traveling and I always like just wanted to see the world. Then at one point I even wanted to become a pilot, but then I was like, that is too much math and physics, not for me.
When I was a kid, either an astronaut or a musician. And I think I'm pursuing the second one, so I'm happy. Hopefully it works out. And if not, I can...
You could always become an astronaut.
Yeah, I can always try, you know?
So I studied at business school. I went to CU in Boulder, Colorado, and I studied finance and marketing there. But during that time, I was producing my own events. I had my own label, and I was very active in the music scene. So I kind of lived two lives. I studied one thing, but worked doing other stuff. So I of course have a passion for business, and I thought that it would be very important to know. But at the end of the day, music is what really interested me, and that's what I ended up pursuing in my free time.
I moved to the Netherlands 6.5 years ago, a long time ago, to study international music management. And and after my studies I stayed, so yeah.
I studied management and finance, so business. And I graduated with a degree in management and finance, and got a job and as a financial advisor. But that was like one of those careers that you start and then you keep going. It's like long term. You have to keep getting up to raise your salary and whatnot. But I'm also a music producer, and music is what I love, like either DJing or making music or just playing. So I wanted to give that a try, because I didn't want to grow old and then wonder like, oh, what if I tried living as a musician? So I declined the job offer, which was a bit of a crazy move, and bought a one-way ticket to Amsterdam to try to live my dream. So I'm at the moment about to finish an internship with Apico Events, just so I could like get an understanding of the industry here. But like I mentioned earlier, I think I'm gonna try to find other side jobs just so I can provide, pay for rent, and be able to keep making music. So.
I was already doing stuff in music when I was 16, 17, 18. I was DJing back then. I was in charge of a teen nightclub. Basically, we organized events for people between ages 16 to 18. But of course, at the time, I needed to study something as well. And I did have the opportunity to go study music as well. But I figured, since it was something I was doing so naturally, I would just kind of learn it by doing it. And the world of business is a little bit different, and I think it's important to understand. So that's why I went to go study at a business school.
I actually, I did a lot with tourism. So I went to a high school that specialized in tourism, and then I even studied tourism for a year at university. So I did a lot within the travel industry again, because I like traveling. But then I realized that even though I like the tourism industry, it's not like my full passion. It's not where my heart is. And then I had the idea of working in music, but at that time I didn't have any connections in the music industry. I was still in Austria. My family didn't have any connections, didn't have any friends that were working in the industry, and I was also kind of ready for a new chapter in my life, to do something that's out of my comfort zone. So then I found out that you can study music management in the Netherlands, and at that time I still am really into EDM. And of course, the Netherlands is kind of the birthplace of EDM. And then I looked for studies here, and that's then eventually why I decided to move here when I was 21 and start a career in the music industry.
I felt like it was, so at that point in time, I had some sense of responsibility that I had to pursue a career that was somewhat professional, for my father especially. And I always knew that business is how the world works, so you can apply knowledge from business in any other career path that you take. So I definitely am grateful to have studied that, because now I understand a lot of things that I wouldn't have if I didn't, and I would have been a bit more lost if I was just oh yeah, I'm doing music. I knew about the music, but I didn't know about the business, because at the end, yeah, you can do music, but it's also a business. It's the music industry, so.
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, business is business, right? And so, you can go study music business, or you study business, but at the end of the day, a lot of this stuff really, it overlaps, especially a lot of the things I learned about marketing. Finance, not so much. That's of course a little bit of a different world, but when it comes to marketing, when it comes to management, when it comes to learning how to do work with different types of people, manage projects, and overall just present things professionally, it definitely was relevant to my experience in the music world for sure.
So I do have to say that I studied in Holland, Haarlem, and in Holland is not really known to be the best school in the Netherlands. And I also experienced that the whole 4 years. I felt there's so much more that they could teach us. And of course I did learn some things, of course, for example, the basics of marketing. I learned a lot about research, finance stuff, a little bit of artist management, a little bit of event management. But I feel the curriculum of the school is so old school. For example, when we talked about record label, record deals, it was like a super old contract from like 20 years ago when it didn't even talk about streaming or stuff like that. So a lot of the information that they gave us was just super old and not up to date. We didn't learn anything about social media marketing or advertising, which is like now something that I do a lot, but I didn't learn anything about it in school. So would I study again? Yes, I would, because it opened all the doors for me in a country where I didn't know anyone and where I didn't know anyone working in a scene. Without my school, I wouldn't be where I am today. But there's honestly not a lot of things that I learned in school that I'm using now. I learned most of my stuff during my internship, like most of the stuff about marketing or advertising or just how a record label works. I learned all of that during my internship and just by doing it. But my school opened doors but didn't perfectly prepare me for that, no.
I would say yes, definitely. Sometimes it might seem like, oh, what am I gonna use this for, blah, blah, blah. But then you catch yourself being like, oh, I learned this in school, and like, you know, just like knowing certain things that like come through classes. And I mean, I took business particularly, right? And I just last week registered as a freelancer in the Netherlands. So I'm starting my own business and I got to do the taxes myself. And well, I also started a company before that that's providing a little money for me, and like that wouldn't be possible if I didn't know how to run a company. Because at the end of the day, say you're a musician or you're a painter or you're whatever, like there's aspects of business or whatever you might be studying in what you do, you know? So you can always try to find ways of like taking advantage of those things that you're learning and apply it to the things that you care about. Because say perhaps you don't care about marketing or how companies promote their products, but it is important for you to promote yourself as a product or business or whatever, you know? So like, yeah, I would say definitely the things that I've learned in college, especially when it comes to marketing, finance, management, have come in hand when being a freelancer, especially in the music industry.
Well, it's a long story. Like I said, I started by working with the teen club. In America, the drinking age is 21, so I had a very hard time to go play anywhere. So I basically had to take what I could get, and I was lucky enough to get involved with someone who needed a DJ for their teen events. So I said, okay, let's do it. Let's get some experience. And through that experience, I met some people who I'm still working with to this day, I'm still very close to. And we really learned the whole way that just, it goes, running a night, playing the whole night, marketing events, booking artists. And so by the time I was 18, I had already done quite a lot of this. It was pretty natural to me. And so I turned 18 and I started producing events like warehouse parties in Denver. So I worked with a few other people. We produced events in warehouses. One event was even in an airport hangar. And this was a really, really cool experience for me because it kind of brought me into that adult music industry world, not just working with teens and promoting to people my own age, but actually going out there and playing the music I wanted to play, which was hardstyle, and not just, house and top 40 and, all this stuff. So I actually had the opportunity to go out there and become the person I wanted to. So I did that for a year, and it was a lot of fun. And through that experience, I met a few other people that were into hardstyle, and then we all teamed up and we started our own record label and event company, which then continued producing events in the Denver area. And that whole thing basically snowballed, because hardstyle is not really that big of a thing in the States, but we found other groups of people like this in other parts of the country, specifically people in the East Coast, Arizona. And we all started teaming up and basically, collaborating across the whole country and saying like, okay, like we're gonna, let's really work on this whole American hardstyle thing. And it was a really great time. And from 2012 to 2018, I was very active for 6 years working in that. I was an artist until about 2015, 2016. I think that's the last time I performed under my artist name at that time. And then I took the shift into artist management, because I just ended up being so involved with the scene. I knew everybody, and I was asked by people who were doing very, very well with their music to basically help them with everything. So I took a shift in that direction. At that time, we also started a booking agency, so I learned the experience of booking artists. Granted, there weren't that many events. The agency ultimately did not end up being a success, but it was a very valuable experience for sure. I'm very, very glad it happened. I got to see a lot of the United States, got to see a lot of parties in different parts of the country. And I got to meet a lot of really cool people, some of which I'm still in touch with today, and some of which actually all moved to Europe to pursue the same dream and that live here as well right now. So then came 2018, and I had finished school, and I decided, okay, like, do I want to go into the corporate world, or do I go to Europe? And I had been coming to Europe regularly in the summers already. I started going to DEF CON in 2012, and then in 2014, after 2014, as a group, my whole record label and event company basically started going, and that also snowballed in a way to where we all met a lot of people. And by the time I graduated school, I was in kind of a unique position where I realized that I knew more people here than in the US, even though I'd only come here for 1 month at a time. I had a really big network here. And so I decided, like, you know what, I'm just gonna go for it, go move to Europe, because at the end of the day, just pushing this stuff in the States, like, it was fun, but I definitely wanted a bit more of a community feeling. In the States, when you're working with hard dance music, it's very much going against the grain. You deal with a lot of people that talk poorly on hardstyle, that say, oh, I know why you're doing this. The shows are always small, the production value is not great, and in general, it's just kind of a different environment. So I decided to go to Europe, where I met a bunch of people already. By that time, I'd already been doing social media for some companies out here as well. And I basically spent a summer looking for work. And I was lucky enough to find a job in the fall of 2018, working for one particular artist, which was a really cool experience. I got hired full-time by his family. And that really introduced me to the world of how this whole thing works on a very professional level. And that's really where my story here in Europe began. And I worked full-time for him for 1 year. And after that, I started becoming a freelancer. I was already freelancing for some people before. At that time, I also worked for EDM.com. So I was doing interviews with various artists, and I was going around and doing small-time gigs here and there with various sort of media stuff. But 1 year into that, I started to freelance, and not only was the artist I worked for my primary client, but also I developed relationships with other people in the business, and I started having other clients, and I started expanding my network. And around this time, I saw there was a big need for copywriting, and I ended up getting contacted a lot by people. Native English is a skill that definitely becomes useful when you're working with marketing music in another country when all the marketing is in English. So that became my primary my primary task, I guess, if you would say, working with different artists and with different people. On top of that, I also do artist management for people. So I consult with them. I help them come up with marketing plans, creative ways to do things, strategies, also critically evaluating music to find a way to make it work in a way that's successful for the future, but also still authentic, of course. It's not like you're just manufacturing a product. You need to make something that's forward thinking, but also that stays true to the core. And that's an understanding that I have had with a lot of artists. And that's kind of led to the creation of one specific project as well, which I still manage the artist to this day. And that's also a really great relationship. And that puts me into a very diverse set of things to do within the music industry. So I can work with not only just social media, which is what I did full-time for when I worked full-time, but strategizing, developing plans, long-term plans, making plans over the course of several years, release schedules, of course, planning video shoots, and anything else that really comes up. It's pretty hard to put everything into just one little box, because when you work in the music industry, it's a very dynamic environment where a lot of different things are needed. So it's pretty hard to just say, oh, I do this one thing, because at the end of the day, it's a pretty small world, and everyone needs to have a pretty wide set of skills in order for this whole thing to work properly, because it's not like it's a corporation where there's 1,000 people and everyone only has one job and they only do that one thing. It's really a dynamic environment where you have to adapt and you have to learn how to do different things. So and that's been the adventure I've been on since.
Okay, so after I did my internship, I went back to school because I obviously had to finish my studies. But then in the last year of my school, basically it was only about writing your bachelor thesis in the second semester, or like in the second half of the year. And then I thought, like, I don't really have to go to school anymore. I have so much free time right now. Like, I might as well get a job that makes me money instead of just sitting at home and doing nothing. And then I saw that Qdance was looking for a junior, junior music manager, I think was the job title. And then I just applied for it, and I luckily got it after many rounds of interviews and much struggling, but I got it. And I was really, really happy with that job. Like, also there I was working together with the music director, did like all the music deliveries, did all the marketing, all the social media stuff. So I got, again, there a lot of insights into also how an event company works, because of course Qdance is relatively like a big company, like medium-sized company. But I started the job in January of 2020, and then we all know what happened, or February 2020. So I was literally at the office for a month, and then COVID hit. So that was really challenging, because it's, like I said, it's like a quite big company, and then we all work from home, and you just can't really build connections with people that you don't know from like home office. So that was quite challenging. And then of course, as it's mainly an event company, and like I think 90-95% of their revenue comes from events, obviously, they had to let go of a lot of people. I think more than half of the people at Qdance had to go. And also me, like they didn't extend my contract. But then in the end, that was really a blessing, because then a few months later, Scantrax was hiring for a junior marketeer. And then I got the job. And I really love working at Scantrax. We're a really small team. We're really like tight knit, almost like family. We all work in the same office. Like we have good vibes. We're a really young team too. And yeah, and then I was a junior marketeer for a year. I did all the socials of Scantrax. Like we have a really, really tight social media schedule. Like we post a lot and we do a lot with social. So that was challenging, but it was a great experience. And then I also worked for Hardstyle.com and also did their socials, did a lot of content creation there, and also wrote articles for them, because while I was there, while I was like working for Hardstyle.com, we launched a new news platform. So that was entirely new to the company. And for those who don't know, it's Hardstyle.com used to be just a platform where you can basically buy MP3 and WAV files of tracks. So basically they have all the extended versions of Hardstyle tracks, and you can download them there. And they also sell merchandise. And then, like 1.5 years ago, they also launched a news platform, like Hardstyle News. And I also was writing for that. And then now since May 2022, I'm the marketing manager. So now I basically oversee all the marketing of Scantrax and the brand. I make all the release plans. I coordinate with the artists, like for artworks and videos, and make sure we have all the content. I try to motivate our artists to post more and to create more content as well. I do all the advertising, and I oversee the socials. We work together with a social media manager as well, so he does all the socials, and I do more like the bigger planning and stuff. I really love my job, and I definitely want to like keep doing this for a long time, because working in music is great. And even though there are other jobs that definitely pay more, because music industry, let's face it, is not really, you're not in it for the money, you know? But I'm really in it because every day I wake up excited to go to work. And I had jobs before where every morning I would wake up and being like, I really don't want to do this. But now I'm really like excited to go to work. I'm excited to see my colleagues. I'm excited for all the projects that we have, because we have really cool projects coming up. And yeah, so I don't see why I should stop doing that if I really like it.
Yeah, I mean, as a freelancer, you have the opportunity to work with a lot of different people. To be honest, I came here and I didn't even think about what I would do. I just thought that I would go work with people, and I found this job. But actually, the thing that really led me into freelancing was that, you know, the most powerful way to market yourself, that's one thing I learned in business school, is word of mouth. Word of mouth is the most effective way that you can get your business out there. And word spread that I was here, and I started getting contacted by a lot of people. You know, it's just people I had never met that I used to look up to, that I still look up to, of course, but that I would live in the States and be like, wow, they would just show up in my phone and be like, hey, I heard about you, that you're here, can you help me with this? So I would say that freelancing actually kind of chose me in a strange way. It just kind of ended up happening that people were interested in working with me, and that's really when I thought, okay, like then freelancing is the way to go.
Because why exactly did I want to become a freelancer? Well, I think because of the nature of the work as well. As a DJ, like if I want to get gigs here and there, like I'm not working for any one specific company, so as a freelancer it's easier to just be like, hey, here's my invoice, here are my details, you can get paid, and then you figure out your own taxes. It's easier to be registered as well, and for like legal aspects, and it also allows me a bit of freedom in terms of like what I'm doing, because it's like, oh, maybe not only DJing, maybe I'm also working at a festival in the door or whatever, and then I don't have to be part of like the company's payroll or like whatever, I can provide for my own insurance, and do my own taxes and everything, and just kind of have control over that, which is always nice.
As a freelancer, what really made me stand out at first was, of course, my deep history with this music and this scene. People have known me for years, and when they recommend me to their friends, they know that I'll do a good job and that I'm not gonna leave them hanging or something. But when it comes to everyday small things that you can do, one thing I always try to do is to respond as soon as possible if someone has a question. I think that's important. Especially if it's someone new, they're contacting you, and unless I'm like super busy with something else, I'll get back to them immediately, because not just do I want their business, but I think that that's just the kind of like respectful thing to do, and I think that that's one habit that particularly set me aside and made me a very accessible freelancer for the scene. Of course, being a native English speaker helps a lot. A lot of my work comes with working with marketing and basically, being able to identify if something is presented professionally in a way that's going to sit well with a native English audience. So that as well. And on top of that, if you work in a scene, it's you can look at it from the perspective of, okay, it's a job and we're all getting paid for this, but at the end of the day, you're all kind of in a big group. And when I moved here, I kind of got the feeling that it was almost like we were all putting on like a big school play or something. And it's a bit of a weird feeling, because it looked so different from the outside. But then when you come here, you realize it's really this whole group. And if you want to be a valuable freelancer, you have to establish yourself as a pretty like a member of that group. So. It kind of ties back to the old story I said there before. I was an artist at the time, but there just reached a certain point where I ended up doing a lot of the management stuff, and of course that just kind of was the way that life naturally funneled me into the position, because I was basically handling all of the business stuff. When it came to events, I was the person that would be securing funding, I would be running the marketing, I would be doing basically all that stuff, and we all kind of distributed our tasks, because when we were in the States, our goal was not so much that any individual person would be successful, but that we would make the harder styles a success in the States overall. So our tasks just naturally kind of distributed in that form. That's kind of the way it just went.
Well, sadly, being an artist doesn't really pay much until you make it. Yeah. I think they go hand in hand for me, because as long as I need to be able to provide, but if I'm working in an environment where people think similarly like I do, or I'm surrounded by creative people, or just a creative environment, that helps the artist or production part of it too, creatively. But I'm not sure. I'm still figuring it out. Like I said, it's been 6 months. I finished this internship from which I wasn't getting that much money, so now I'm just exploring my opportunities, and the freelancing is just something that you can do on the side without necessarily putting all your time into. And it's always nice to have those opportunities open, right? Because maybe I want to work during the weekend at a club and I can just work that weekend. It allows for a bit more freedom, which is good in this line of work, because you need to kind of find money here and there I performed a couple of weeks ago, but I only got $17 from performing, so it's not really sustainable. And this just allows for it, but who knows, maybe I end up being a corporate slave to provide for the music, so who knows.
I can't get away from it. That's the honest answer. I've thought about it, and there have been periods where I'm like, oh, maybe I should do something else. And then I focus on something else a little bit, and I just realize that there's nothing better. The people you're around, the energy, the environment, it is really, really special to be involved with something like this. And yeah, that drive, like I have drive to accomplish things with whatever's at hand. And, I think it's also normal when you do something for such a long time to think, okay, maybe it's time to do something else. And then you step away a little bit and you're like, okay, this is actually what I should be doing. And it's always nice to reaffirm that with yourself, because then, gives you that much more drive to go out there and achieve things, because you always have the opportunity to do it. That's really the magic thing about the music industry, is that you can really do whatever you want. And it's actually not that hard to get involved with what you want to do. You just have to be consistent. And that consistency is key. If you maintain that consistency in your life, then good things will happen.
It's just a passion, really. Like I said, I say it to Alan, to my boyfriend all the time, like I really couldn't see myself working in any other business. Like I really couldn't see myself going back to tourism. Like this feeling that because I also had to do internships when I was in high school. And this like sick feeling in my stomach that I had every single morning when I woke up knowing that I have to go work at this restaurant. I never want to have that ever again. And I was just like this feeling of hate in the morning that you don't want to do this job. Like I was at one point where I think like, oh, how can I call in sick? Like how can I I was thinking of every single way of that I don't have to go to work. And now I just don't have that. And really just like if you have a job you really like, it doesn't even feel like a job. And that is for me, like I never want to have anything else ever again. And coming back to the money aspect again, I would always choose happiness over money. Like money is not everything. Money is really not everything. And even though some people think that and they're fine with it, like that's totally fine. Like everybody can do what they want to do. But for me personally, I would rather have a job that pays a little less and I'm happy every single day of my life. Then I have like a super high paying job, but then I have to work 80 hours a week and I hate everything and everything that I do. So I would always choose happiness, and that's what I'm doing.
I would say nothing else drives me other than music, right? Like, I don't know, when I was like, during my last years of college, it was like, I was studying all this business stuff, but like the only thing I wanted to do at the end of the day was make music, right? Or just like go to a concert and experience the music. And that's at the end of the day what makes me happy. And like, I knew it from a long time ago, but it kind of just like really, what's the word? Like I realized how important it was when I was like trying to do something else all the time. And I didn't have time for creativity or just pursuing different ideas or interests that I had. And it was like, okay, like I cannot do this without doing this. Like I'm not happy and I don't want to do it. So therefore I'm going to do what I want to do and try to find ways of being able to do that, rather than like doing something that I don't want to do so that I can do what I want to do, if that makes any sense. But yeah, at the end of the day, what drives me is, I don't want to say my happiness, but like with music it's interesting because it's like my happiness, but at the end of the day I'm happier when other people around me are also like seeing why it makes me happy, right? When I show them like, oh yeah, I made the song and look when I do this and that, and they're like, oh, like that's really, like that just kind of like gives me energy. Or when I'm performing live and I see people having a good time, that's really what drives me, and I'm trying to make that happen by other means. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't, but as of the moment, that's what I'm trying to do.
Well, I think that, obviously something's changed in the past few years about the world. And right when I moved here in 2018, I would say there was definitely a lot of people that were very interested and the competition was very high. Internships were hard to get. And then, of course, certain things happened, and we weren't able to have events for a while. A lot of artists and music companies were put into pretty bad positions, and I think it really made a lot of people realize that, you know, it's at the end of the day, it is an uncertain business. You know, it's not really the safest choice if you want to, you know, have something that you can rely on forever without needing to constantly prove yourself and to be a part of. So now, because of that, we're at a labor shortage, I think. And I think the only thing that we can do to fix it is to wait and let things grow naturally. Because, you know, this whole situation basically put our whole scene back several years in terms of the development on the back end. There's just, you know, shortages everywhere. People are, you know, having trouble finding workers and finding people that you know even want to. So yeah, you know, but the thing is that the people that are sticking around are working really hard, and they're doing a good job. And of course the events are back, and everything is kind of moving in a good direction. So I think really the only thing we can do is to keep doing what we're doing and to wait, because, you know, that's just the nature of this whole thing, and unfortunately the setbacks that we experienced in the past few years.
I think it's basically the same answer that Ellen gave, but I think that right now, well, we definitely had a shortage of people, because we really saw that we were really struggling finding a social media manager, like a junior marketeer, when I moved up to become a marketing manager. And also we didn't have interns last period because we couldn't find anyone. And you could also see that trend, because Scantrix used to have 2 interns, one that does like music and marketing, and then one that does graphic design. But already for years, Scantrix doesn't have a graphic design intern anymore, because they're just like impossible to find. And now I think it's getting better, because I think during COVID, people saw that the music industry is a very unstable industry and very easily affectable by events like COVID or in general. So I think a lot of young people maybe decided to go a different way, like maybe pick a job that's safer in that way. And yeah, but I feel I now see a positive trend. Like we now have interns again. We already have intern applications for next period. So it's really going back at it. And yeah, I think one way to solve the problem would maybe to pay people a bit more, to make that a bit more interesting. Because like I said, we're all not in it for the money. There are jobs where you can make way more money. But still, people, especially I feel like young people are very money focused, and maybe just the music industry has been made a bit more attractive with increasing salaries or benefits, or just like make it a bit more attractive to join, because it's all fun and games, but in the end we all need to pay our bills too.
I think the answer is it depends. I think that when it comes to long-term goals, you should have long-term goals within yourself. And when it comes to things in the music industry, say if you want to be an artist, for example, you need to think on a scale of, you know, approximately 5 years before you get any attention. And then you probably work in like these 5-year cycles where, you know, the whole style of music changes and the audience switches out, because at the end of the day, most of the people at these shows are in their early 20s. And yeah, you need to be aware of that, of course. But at the same time, it's such a dynamic world that you can't rely on it, because if you make plans that are too strict and then they don't come through, it can get very demotivating. So I think that there's definitely some truth to that statement, but you need to be able to take everything with a grain of salt, because things will change, things will be different. And, you know, if you make a plan now for 5 years from now, you know, I mean, you can definitely end up in a better place, but odds are, unless it's like really, I don't know, crazy odds, you know, it's not going to be exactly what you imagined 5 years ago. So I think the most important thing to do is to plan to stay true to yourself, focus on yourself, that you're happy, that you're doing what you want to do. But the method of doing it and just the way it goes doesn't necessarily have to stick to the same thing, because things change. You can't predict. People couldn't predict TikTok, for example. If you ask someone this question in the year 2016, everyone would be talking about Instagram. But now Instagram is not even the main thing on the playing field. You have TikTok, and you have all the kind of new stuff that's going on. You have Be Real, and you can't predict that these things are going to happen. So if you make a plan to say, hey, in 5 years I'm gonna have 500K followers on TikTok, like sure, that'd be great, but you also need to be able to adapt and see like if there's a new social media platform that's coming up, okay, I'm gonna put my efforts there. Same with Spotify, for example. A lot of artists are probably gonna give themselves benchmarks on streaming, but nothing lasts forever. Things are always changing, and in order to, I think, really be successful in this industry, you need to be very forward thinking and to be able to identify those opportunities early and to be able to pivot and take them.
I think it is important to have goals. I mean, definitely, like if you don't have goals and you just wake up every day, like why do you do what you do? Like you always need to know why you're doing what you're doing and where you want to go with it. And I mean, I don't think it's like you need to over plan. Like I don't think you need to make daily goals. I don't think you need to, I don't know, write down your affirmations and like do like all that stuff. Like I'm really not a fan of that. But just to know where you want to go overall in life and maybe have like your 1 year, 5 year goals, but also don't be too hard on yourself. Like don't beat yourself up if you don't reach your goals, and make the goals attainable. Like don't make impossible goals. Like don't make a goal that within 1 year I want to be the top hardstyle DJ like now in the hardstyle scene. That's not gonna happen, like set goals for yourself, but make sure that you are able to reach them. And even if you don't reach them, because things happen, like for example with COVID, how many people got set back with their goals? Don't beat yourself up. There's so many things out of your control that can happen. So if you don't reach your goals, that's okay.
Well, I think it definitely helps to have long-term plans and objectives. It's definitely not easier, but more strategic that way. But you have to know what you want to do, right? Like you have to have an end goal or whatever. And sometimes you don't know that. And like I think it's better to take some time, step back, think about what you really want for yourself or where you're happy, what makes you happy or other people happy, whatever you're interested in, and then going that route and setting up those targets. But like if you just go in and because of that statement they're like, oh, you need to have long, it's like, okay, I wanna, you're just gonna put something and then work so hard towards that, and then eventually you'll realize, oh, I achieved this and I'm not happy. Why? Well, maybe because you didn't spend enough time thinking about whether that was what you wanted after all, So of course, say I wanted to become the biggest DJ on the planet, which is not my objective, I think, but say it was, then it's like a bit of a clearer route, because it's like, okay, I need to get performances, I need to promote myself, and then you kind of like start breaking it up and putting objectives and short, mid, long-term plans. But I'm still trying to figure, like, it was more of like, okay, I'm not gonna do finance, I want to do music, and things just happen, and like I end up finding opportunities that I wouldn't have found if I didn't take the decisions that I took because of my interests. So I think following your interests is the most important, because at the end of the day, that's what makes you happy. And if you follow your interests, like other opportunities will arise, right? And then you'll be like, oh, like this would have never happened if I didn't do this, or if I didn't do that, and then you kind of start getting a clearer picture of where you want to go, right? And then it's like, oh, so I would like to do this. What do I need to do that? And then you set out a plan, right? But you got there because of your interest, not because someone told you, oh, you need a job, right?
Yeah, I'm actually going to be making music again myself. So it's kind of funny for that you asked me why I stopped making music and decided to work in the music industry, because things are very cyclical. So I'm in the process of making my own plan for this as well right now. So that's been a very exciting project on my side as well. Because I've basically, if you look at the list of everything in the hardstyle scene, I've basically done almost every role at this point. And when you look at the supply chain of hard dance music, from creating it to the audience to everything in between, I've seen the whole thing. So I'm gonna take a step back again and to see what it's like to make music and perform again.
No, I mean, now after I said that, I mean, I do have my goals, of course, and I do want to keep working where I'm working right now. Like, I really like my job, and I want to like create more content ideas. I want to make Scandrix as a company more like attractive in a way, because the company has existed for 20 years, and a lot of people still associate it with like back in the days. So I really want to make sure that we become like more modern, stay more like ahead of trends and stuff like that. And on personal goals, yeah, I just want to, I don't know, personal goals, difficult. I want to stay in the Netherlands for a couple more years, definitely. But eventually, if it's like really like long-term goals, like I don't know, let's say 10-year goals, I think I want to maybe at one point move back to Austria, start a family there, get a house there, like have a dog. I really want to have a dog. And yeah, and also my new goal for this year is to get fit again and to watch my diet and to go back to the gym and that stuff. So I have several goals, like work goals, personal goals, fitness goals, you know, all that stuff.
So I'm kind of like in a mid, what do you call it, a liminal point, because yeah, it was 6 months ago, 6 months ago I took the decision of like, okay, I'm gonna try to pursue music, whatever that means for me, right? Because I'm a producer and writer, but what I've made the most money in has been DJing, and I also like that, so it was just exploring that world, right? And in order to explore that world, I needed to do certain things like getting a place, which was fucking hard in Amsterdam. Sorry, I don't know if I can curse. Freaking hard in Amsterdam. And getting registered with the city, getting a BSN, then registering the company, getting insurance, getting a little bit of experience in the country first, you know? So it was like doing those things, which took around 6 months. And now I have a place, I'm registered, I have a company, I've made a network of people that I know in the city, I've performed here and there a couple times, you know, so I have a clearer, what's the word I'm looking for, not playground, clearer overview of like what I can do, right? And now after this internship that I was telling you about, I just want to take some time to really assess like what I've experienced so far and decide what are the next steps I want to take. So as of now, the goal that I recently achieved was registering my company. I want to keep expanding that into like, I'm making some business cards for DJing that I want to give out to different venues so I could possibly get gigs and get paid for that. I'm helping a friend organize an event in a couple months. I'm also excited for the Academy Breda, Lonely Lovely. Yeah, just keep making music. I'm working on an album and an EP, so just whenever I have time, working on that. And yeah, those are my goals for now. You know, don't want to go too far.
So what advice I would give to people who feel lost, you know? I mean, it's everybody feels lost sometimes. I think it's totally natural to feel that way. So I guess the first piece of advice I would give you is to don't feel bad about it, because that's completely normal. It's just part of being a person and existing, you know? The thing that I can really suggest is to be around people that motivate you and drive you, because they will help you find that drive within yourself. So find people that you know you feel are very secure with those things, and surround yourself by them, because you know they say that you become the average of the 5 people that you spend the most amount of time with around you. So if you adjust your surroundings and you surround yourself by people that have that drive and that achieve the things that you want to achieve, but maybe you're a little insecure to achieve, you'll put yourself in a position where just the world will instill habits in you to push you in that direction, and you know, things will most likely change. Of course, like everyone's in a different position and things are always different, but the one thing that you can consistently do is to change your environment to make sure that it betters you and that it puts you in a more motivating spot.
So the first one is like, nobody knows what they're doing. You can go out to the street, ask anyone, yeah, maybe one guy is like, yeah, I'm a lawyer and I do this and that, and it's like, cool, whatever, boring, you know? I don't think you'll really know what you're doing until like you put in time to really assess what it is you want to do, right? And then you have, like you said, a plan, objectives and whatever, but it's okay to not know what you're doing, you know? Nobody really knows. And so I would say that, like I said, it is okay to not know what you're doing, because many people do not know what they're doing, but it's always good to do something, right? It's better than doing nothing. And by doing something, you can tell whether you like doing that or you don't like doing that. And that's like, and it can go down to like the simplest things, you know, like listening to music or watching a movie or going out with your friends or you know, like if you're just completely lost, just take some time off, follow your interests or what, you know, maybe you have some responsibilities, do those too, but assess always how you're feeling, right? It might be like, oh, I like this, I don't like this. And then you can start like I said, making an overview or getting an understanding of what it is that you would like to do. And then you can work from there. That's the advice that I would give to someone who doesn't know what they want to do.
Well, what I can say that the internship is probably the most important part of your entire studies. So don't do any random internship that you can find, like because it almost happened to me. I had difficulties finding a placement at a company I really like because I'm not Dutch at that point. Like I didn't speak Dutch at all. And so then I ended up getting a position, but it would have been like in a super random place in the music scene, but like with artists I really don't care about, with music I don't care about. And then I saw that Scantrax also does internships, and then I just applied for it. And then I wanted to start my internship in September, but they already had someone for September, so they offered me that I get the spot in February, so for the second semester, and then I took it, and that was the best decision ever. And then I called the other guy and I was like, sorry, but I can't do it. So my one tip is really go after the internship you really want. Be as early as possible, like just apply early, because like right now, for example, now we have January, but you can already apply for the internships in August now, like for the ones after summer. So yeah, just really be early, and then to make sure that you get what you want, and don't just do an internship because you have to do an internship. Really go after your passion. Without my internship, because I also worked for Q-Dance for a bit after my internship, and without my internship at Scantrax, I wouldn't have gotten a job at Q-Dance. And now I'm back at Scantrax at my internship company, which also, of course, was way easier to get the job because I already did my internship there. And yeah, basically during my internship, I was responsible for the socials of Xbone and Xro, which is now Scantrax Prospects, our talent label. And there I really got a lot of creative freedom to do basically what I want with the socials, to come up with new concepts. I met up with the artists, had like a meeting with them, like what they want us to do, and like I listened to their feedback and basically came up with new concepts for the socials. I also assisted our label manager and did like a lot of the like music delivery to the portals like Spotify and stuff. And I just got insights into basically every aspect of a label, and that was really helpful. Well, my advice is just to be early, like be as early as you can. Like if you want to have an internship at one specific company, one specific industry, just apply for it as early as you can, because companies always look for interns, and they usually have 2 periods where interns start, like one like August, September, and then one January, February. So just be as early as you can and set your goal on that one company you want to work for, and really never settle for a random internship, and like really don't be lazy with that. Like just do everything that you can and be creative with your application. Try to find out who the people are that work for the company and like what they did, and just like be like really work hard to get a good internship. That's like really the one advice that I can give, because without my internship I wouldn't be here.
Now, when it comes to working in the music industry specifically, especially for events, well, you know, the first thing I have to say is don't get discouraged when ticket sales are really low. I've been there myself. It's hard pushing events, you know, and hardstyle parties in the States. I have been behind countless parties that have flopped, and I've lost a lot of people's money, and that's just part of it. And you just have to keep going through and accepting that if you really care about something, you're probably not going to be successful at first. And maybe it's a bit of solace to think too that if you are really successful at first, it's going to make you think everything's really easy. And then something's going to go wrong down the line later, and it's going to be that much harder to handle it when it happens. So you have to build thick skin, and you have to stick with it and just go with it, because it's not easy, you know. I mean, if you're looking at just trying to earn money, there are different ways where you can earn way more money by doing stuff that's you know, just a lot more commercially commercially, you know, it makes more money. But when it comes to music, you have to understand that part of that risk you're taking is that you're working on something that you really, really love genuinely on the inside. And that's and that understanding if you can go through the hard times, through the shows that flop, through the bad things that happen, through the misunderstandings you have with people, and you just keep that within yourself, you'll be right on your way.
If you don't know what to do, just try things. Like you can always try stuff, and especially when you're a student, get an internship in like a company or like in an area where you're really interested in, and then in your internship you're really gonna learn whether that's something you want to do or not. Like for example, before I was doing my internship at Scantrax, I didn't really know what record labels do or like what like why you would work at a record label, but now like I really like it and I really like see that this is for me. But before my internship I also didn't know, and especially if you're a student and you're so like you're still in your early steps of your career, just try it and see what you want to do. Get an internship you like. If you don't like it, that's okay, move on, get another internship and just test it out, or start something yourself and just see how you go from there. But again, like there are people that change their career when they're 50. So there's absolutely no shame in stopping something that you don't like, and you should always just do what makes you happy. And if you have a job or something that you really don't like, then stop it and do something else, find something else, give it a try. And if you really don't like it, like you can also leave again after half a year, after a year, and it's not like you're stuck with one thing for the rest of your life. And I think people need to be more aware of that that's totally okay. Like our parents' generation, they stick in one job for their entire life. Like looking at my parents, they've been doing the same thing for their entire life. But our generation is completely different. And even though maybe some people have parents that think, oh, you need to become a doctor, you need to become a lawyer. But if you hate it, then why should you do it? It won't make you happy.
I would say it depends on whether you are a creative or you would just like to be part of the industry as a worker, which is essential as well. I would break it up and say for the person who's trying to work in the industry, it's all about connections. It's all about the right attitude. They have, like, when people see that you have passion for the event or whatever it is happening, they have more of a proclivity to like let you do things because they'll know that you care about it and you'll take care of it and you're going to be responsible. Of course, you have to show that by doing things well, but yeah, it's all about meeting the right people, just getting out there. Like I've met so many people just by partying, going to parties. Like you see someone cool or you see someone doing something, you just let them know how you feel about it. It's like, hey, cool lights, like I met this guy who does the lights for Stratford, and I was just like, after the shift, like, yo, I really like what you're doing with the visuals. I just started talking to him. Then he invited me, he owns a club in Cologne, he's invited me to go, and just by talking to people and again, following your interests is how you get in the industry. And it might be a little hectic, but if you like it, it's what you're getting into. And for creatives, I would say, don't let anyone in the industry discourage you from doing what you want to do. Because of course you have to listen to like you're not perfect, you're not there yet, otherwise you would be part of the industry performing everywhere. But you have to get there, and obviously you have to be open for feedback and like learning, changing things, becoming better, Nowadays the concept of practice is kind of dissipated because people don't really people do play instruments, but like in terms of when you think music industry, you think DJs, electronic, blah, 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 practice is not like that easy when it comes to that, but you can always keep doing it, practice, like follow your interest and like keep trying to achieve what you would like to achieve creatively, but don't let anyone keep that drive away from you, right? Because they might be like, oh, this is bad, or this is not good enough, or you should focus on this, why are you doing this? Doesn't matter, you keep doing you and like someone will resonate with it, right? Like so many people have told me like, oh, why are you producing like 5 different genres? Why don't you focus on one and like try to become big on that one? It's like, hey, that's not what makes me happy. I have all these different like musical influences that affect the way I make music. I cannot change that, right? And then someone tells me like, yo, I love this techno track that you did, and then someone else is like, oh, I love this reggaeton track that you did, and like each one wants me to keep doing those types of tracks, but like I'm not, I'm just gonna do what I want and where I'm going. And if you like, it's not my job to satisfy the industry, like it's my job to do the best I can with what I have, and I'm gonna do that by making the music I like, and hopefully someone else will resonate with it and get the same perspective that I had when I was making it, or resonate with the lyrics or whatever that is, but at that point, like the creative communication circle comes to an end, like idea, making it being transferred to someone else, them getting it and them getting back to you like, yo, I really like this, That's like what should be driving you, not like a company saying, oh, this is good enough or this is not good enough. Of course, listen to like their advice of this might not be good enough because you need more mixing or you need more blah, blah, blah. But like, don't let that keep the drive away from you or take the drive away.